Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, and I'm joined as usual by Riley Fessler. How are you doing, Riley Fessler?
Pretty good.
Excellent. And Minna Stein. How are you today, Minna Stein?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Well, we live in a great time to be alive. Maybe not the ideal country to be alive in at the moment, but um, we're fighting for truth, justice, and the American way, as is Superman. Superman comes out this week. That's one of the big news items, isn't it? It's
For
been
me,
getting kind of
yeah.
mixed. It's been getting kind of mixed reviews, I'm afraid.
I saw good reviews. I choose to believe that it's good. I'm seeing it tomorrow, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's blockbuster movie time. Didn't Minna just go see F1?
I did see F1 and it is excellent and everyone should go see it.
See, well, see, folks. We could go just straight into the gloom and doom, but we also need to provide you periodically with ways to get through the gloom and doom, and maybe going to the movies is good. Personally, I watched TCM the other night, and I watched His Girl Friday from 1940 with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, one of the all-time great screwball comedies. And I found that was my escape. So, clearly we're not doing a lot of reading here except the news. So why don't we kick that off? Who's going to kick us off?
I've got us started with some just awesome news. The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed the Trump
Love those
administration to.
guys. You got to love the Supreme Court. They're just always doing stuff to make America a better place.
Yep, they're releasing banger after banger decision. They've allowed the Trump administration to move forward with plans for mass layoffs and agency downsizing, overturning a lower court ruling that had temporarily blocked the effort. The decision supports Trump's February executive order directing federal agencies to prepare for large-scale staff cuts, potentially affecting hundreds of thousands of civil servants. While the ruling is a significant win for Trump's push to consolidate executive power, it does not immediately authorize layoffs and acknowledges that individual agency plans could still face legal challenges. Critics, including unions and Democrats, argue the downsizing threatens vital public services and was executed without proper oversight or planning.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. I mean, no, we're only 6 months in here. The people who are doing this had no government experience, didn't know how the agencies worked, and were cutting based on strange criteria, like use of DEI words, or whether people involved were involved in things that were politically uncomfortable for Trump, or uh, you know conforming the government to look more like Project 2025. But imagine you work in the government right now. The axe is going to fall. Morale must be falling. The government isn't extremely well run at the moment. A lot of the people running the agencies are not experienced at running these places. A lot of agencies are going through purges and searches for disloyal people, which are going to affect this whole thing. Uh, it's not a great place to work. I got to tell you, you go around Washington, you go to restaurants, you overhear people, you talk to your friends who've worked in agencies for a long, long time, and you're seeing a lot of departures, a lot of anger. Places like the FBI, places like the State Department, places where people are doing extremely important work for the United States. Right now is a real low point for all of them. And frankly, I think it's going to take a long, long time to get people to come back into the government. And as people realize the services that they had were valuable services and that they're gone now, they're going to be upset, and maybe they'll say, well, let's get some new people in to fix this. But I think you're talking many, many years to fix the cost of this. And frankly, a lot of people will be saying, well, why should I go into the government now if in 4 years some, MAGA 2.0 comes along and they just fire us again? This is not a good career. It's a little bit like the rationale of the people who are like, well, why should I go study in the US if I could get kicked out or not be able to get a visa? And that, that gets to this bigger point. The things that are happening now are not just damaging now, but they have many, many years, long tails, as they say, of impact. And we need to start calculating that in to all of our projections for not just what the country is going to do. What are we going to do? How are we going to live our lives? Madam?
President Trump acknowledged he might have approached government cuts differently than Elon Musk, but praised
Ah,
the overall reductions, especially at the EPA. He offered limited specifics, but supported the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts, noting mixed opinions within his cabinet. Regarding Musk's creation of the America First third party, Trump dismissed concerns, suggesting it could actually benefit him politically.
Trump's not running again, folks. How's it going to benefit him politically? He literally, the guy's brain is not functioning at the moment. I think he's got like a couple of cans of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup between his ears. I listen to him talk. He doesn't know what's going on. When people ask him hard questions, he goes, well, I'm going to let somebody else answer that. Saying now, well, I think I would have done these cuts differently. Well, you're the president, for God's sakes. They're your cuts. Everything that's happening is on your watch. Own it, buddy. But, I do want to say that this is not just, the natterings of an old fool. These are decisions that have real life consequences and real life and death consequences. I have a column that's going to be up any moment at the Daily Beast. Will be up by the time that you hear this, in which I talk about the fact that the Trump administration, unlike other administrations that are measured by historians in terms of their accomplishments, is going to be an administration, the last one and this one, that is going to be measured in terms of their death toll. And it's not just the COVID death toll of preventable deaths that were caused by Trump policies, a number which is probably 500,000 people. But the 14 million deaths worldwide caused by shutting down USAID. And according to some estimates, just to pick up on the point that Minna just made about EPA, the one estimate says that in 2019, the number of people who died in the United States because of toxicity in the environment caused by Trump changes in regulation was 22,000 people. Imagine that every year, tens of thousands of people die. And then multiply that times all the areas where they're not going to get services, the deaths associated with not having weather services or not having FEMA or not having HHS take care of diseases or, the anti-vax movement is one of the greatest attacks on American well-being that we've ever seen. It's estimated that in the wake of finding the COVID vaccine, 250,000 people died primarily because they were anti-vaxxers. They didn't get the vaccine. And Trump has said, well, let's take that a step further. Let's institutionalize that at HHS with RFK Jr. And so, each year, tens of thousands of people will die because of Trump environmental policies. Tens of thousands of people will die because of Trump health policies. Tens of thousands of people will die because of Trump MAGA GOP gun policies. We just take it for granted that 50,000 people are going to die every year from guns. That's not the way it works, folks, in other parts of the world. Other parts of the world, other developed countries, see a fraction of the gun fatalities that we see. It seems a long time ago that the Biden administration declared gun deaths a national public health crisis. But I encourage people to go look up what the per capita gun death rates are in places like not just Europe, places like China, Japan, Korea, or Singapore. The Chinese death rate from per capita gun violence is 1/30th of what it is in the United States. The Singaporean death rate is about 1/30th of what it is in China. Why? Because they have strict gun laws. So these are all examples where you can see that policies are not just abstractions; they have life and death consequences. Trump can say what he wants about EPA, but you poison the environment, people die. Riley.
Ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas in Doha have stalled, with key disagreements over Israeli troop withdrawals and the distribution of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Despite optimism from U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, who said only one issue remained unresolved, a Palestinian official said progress was blocked by Israel's insistence on a restricted aid mechanism and refusal to withdraw from occupied areas. The current proposal includes a 60-day ceasefire, the staged release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners, and increased humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes in Gaza continue amid mounting casualties and devastation as the war enters its 21st month.
Yeah, look, if there is any kind of agreement, it'll be a short term agreement which will last right up until they get the last hostage they can out. And then the Israelis will continue on with their efforts to um, uh, uh, wage war against Hamas. Remember, their goals have changed now. Their goal used to be we want to get rid of Hamas's military leadership and capability. As of this week, Netanyahu was saying that the goal was to get rid of their military capability, but also their governance capability. Well, who's going to replace their governance? Um, uh, Other countries in the region are not going to support rebuilding or efforts to put in place a new government unless the Israelis give some guarantees of autonomy, and they're not going to do it. The Israelis are restricting aid flows for the same reason, and the Israelis are talking about resettling people. So this current negotiation, which has the benefit of focusing on the hostages that should be freed after 21 months, this current effort is going to be short lived and is going to end in more fighting, more trauma for the Palestinians, and frankly, I think more danger for Israel the longer they go on with the extreme policies of Netanyahu, Likud, and the right wing coalition that is keeping him in power, which is, of course, his main goal here.
The IRS has signaled a shift in how it interprets the Johnson Amendment, saying houses of worship can discuss political candidates during religious services without losing their tax-exempt status, so long as it's framed through matters of faith. This move stems from a legal settlement with religious groups who argued the restriction violated their First Amendment rights, though experts say it does not significantly alter long-standing enforcement practices. Despite the change, most Americans, including religious groups, remain opposed to political endorsements from the pulpit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it, honestly. I think the politicization of churches in the United States, and by churches I mean all houses of worship, um, is inconsistent with the original idea of giving churches tax exemptions, and is inconsistent with the idea of separation of church and state. Has it been going on for a while in one way or another? Yes. Um, is this a sop to evangelical churches that are part of the Trump base? Yes. Um, uh, can we expect loopholes to be found going forward when there are some houses of worship that become active in opposing this administration? Yes. Um, well, I don't know if it's a popular view or not. I am personally of the view that churches should not be tax exempt. A lot of them are essentially big businesses, and it's time that we stop subsidizing that kind of thing, because frankly, it's unless the parameters are very, very narrow, um, uh, uh, and really do keep them in alignment with other kinds of not-for-profit organizations. Then it makes sense. But for these churches that are businesses that are got pastors that are flying around in private jets and so forth, it's kind of gross. If they become political organizations, it's kind of gross. We can do better, Riley.
A proposed U.S. Venezuela prisoner swap, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, fell apart due to competing diplomatic efforts within the Trump administration. While Rubio's team negotiated to exchange American and Venezuelan political prisoners for 250 Venezuelan migrants detained in El Salvador, Trump envoy Richard Grenell pursued a separate deal offering Chevron oil concessions instead. The lack of coordination confused Venezuelan officials and ultimately stalled both deals, leaving detainees on all sides still imprisoned. Families of the imprisoned expressed frustration at the internal discord, while the White House denied any divisions, insisting the president remains the sole decision maker.
This is just another clusterfuck. I mean, what is the head of the Kennedy Center doing negotiating these deals anyway? But Grinnell has this kind of free floating diplomat title because everything he has ever touched as a diplomat has gone so well. And I'm being sarcastic. He was excoriated when he was ambassador to Germany. He was excoriated for his work in support of right-wing thugs in the Balkans. He was an election denier. He is an extremist of the worst sort. He's done, unspeakably bad things also at the Kennedy Center. But here's Marco Rubio, who's not only the Secretary of State, but also the National Security Advisor. Also, by the way, runs USAID and is the archivist of the United States. You would think he had a ton of power. But this just underscores again, having all those titles is actually about diluting the power of the institutions, not increasing the power of the bureaucrat that they have atop those institutions. It's in fact, he's been chosen for those jobs precisely because they want somebody there who's not going to cause trouble. It leads to lack of coordination. This is, the NSC should be the mechanism that coordinates this stuff. And it's just another sign that this approach of not having a functioning NSC brings a high total with it. So, that's it for today. Does it make you want to go see Superman, the movie, or go see F1 or go to the beach? Yeah, it does. Makes me want to do all those things. I hope you'll do those things. I hope you'll find something good and sunny out there. It's the middle of July. It's the time for that. And we'll be back right here tomorrow. I do want to say to everybody, by the way, that next week I'll be off doing some work. So I won't be joining for this podcast next week. But Riley and Minna will be celebrating that. And they look forward to that as another special kind of a summer vacation for them because they don't have to deal with me. But it's only Wednesday, so we got Thursday and Friday to go this week, and we'll see you then. And we also have Deep State Radio later today, Words Matter tomorrow, and more good stuff coming. So join us for all of that. Bye-bye.